The whole restaurant went silent when the little girl in the wheelchair whispered, "It's okay, Daddy. I'm used to birthdays like this." Her father, billionaire CEO Adrian Blackwood, froze beside her untouched cake. He had booked the most expensive private dining hall in the city, ordered flowers from Paris, hired a violinist, and invited the richest families he knew. But no one came for his daughter. Not one child. Not one parent. Only empty chairs surrounded the long birthday table. And then, from the back of the restaurant, a tired single dad holding his little boy's hand stood up and said the words that changed everything. "Can we join you?" Before we begin, if this story touches your heart, please support the channel by liking this video and subscribing. Sometimes one small act of kindness can heal a wound money could never touch. Stay until the end, because what this single dad discovers about the CEO's daughter will leave you thinking about kindness in a completely different way. Adrian Blackwood was a man people feared before they respected. At 42, he was the founder and CEO of Blackwood Global, a company that owned hospitals, hotels, and luxury buildings across the country. He wore tailored dark suits, spoke with a calm voice, and never allowed emotion to show in public. But everything changed when he looked at his daughter, Emily. Emily Blackwood was 9 years old. She had soft brown eyes, long chestnut hair tied with a white ribbon, and a smile that tried very hard to hide pain. After a car accident 3 years earlier, Emily had lost movement in her legs. Since then, she used a wheelchair. Adrian had survived losing his wife in that same accident, but he had never forgiven himself for surviving with more power than pain could hold. He gave Emily everything money could buy. Private teachers. The best doctors. A room full of toys. A custom wheelchair. A bedroom that looked like a princess suite. But he could not buy her friends. At school, children avoided her. Some stared. Some whispered. Some invited each other to parties but forgot Emily on purpose. Parents were polite to Adrian's face but told their children Emily needed special attention, as if kindness was too heavy a responsibility. So when Emily asked for a birthday party, Adrian promised himself this year would be different. He booked the Grand Rosewood restaurant, decorated it with pink and silver balloons, placed a chocolate cake in the center, and sent invitations to every child in Emily's class. Emily had been excited all morning. "Do you think Sophie will come?" she asked while Adrian fixed her ribbon. "I'm sure she will," he answered, though he was not sure at all. "And maybe Noah? Maybe Noah too." She looked down at her hands. "What if nobody comes?" Adrian knelt in front of her wheelchair. "Then they don't deserve your cake." Emily smiled, but her eyes looked worried. By 6 o'clock, the birthday room was ready. The violinist played softly. The candles were waiting. The staff stood nearby with trays of juice and tiny sandwiches. Emily sat at the head of the table in her wheelchair, wearing a pale blue birthday dress. Her eyes kept moving toward the door. At 6:10, no one had arrived. At 6:20, Adrian checked his phone. At 6:30, the restaurant manager whispered, "Sir, would you like us to delay the cake?" Adrian gave him a cold look. "They'll come." But they didn't. By 7 o'clock, Emily's smile had disappeared. The balloons moved gently above empty chairs. The cake stood untouched, bright and beautiful, like it was celebrating someone who had already been forgotten. Adrian's phone buzzed once. A message from one parent. "Sorry, we couldn't make it. Busy evening." Another message followed. "Noah isn't feeling well." Then another. Something came up. Adrian knew what those messages meant. They meant their children were not sick. They meant the parents had talked among themselves. They meant Emily had been left alone again. He turned away so she would not see his anger. But Emily saw everything. She touched the edge of the table and whispered, "Daddy, can we just go home?" Adrian forced his voice to stay steady. Not yet, sweetheart. She looked at the cake. It's okay, Daddy. I'm used to birthdays like this. Those words broke something inside him. The powerful CEO who had faced million-dollar lawsuits, boardroom betrayals, and public scandals suddenly could not breathe. He wanted to call every parent. He wanted to punish every person who made his child feel invisible. He wanted to buy the whole school and fire every teacher who allowed cruelty to grow in silence. But before he could say anything, a small voice came from the entrance of the private room. Dad, why is that girl alone? Adrian turned. A man stood there in a faded gray jacket, holding the hand of a little boy around 7 years old. The man looked tired but kind. His name was Daniel Reed. He was a single father, a delivery driver, and part-time mechanic who had brought his son Lucas to the restaurant because it was Lucas's birthday too. They could not afford the private room. They had only ordered one small plate of pasta to share in the main dining area. Lucas looked at Emily's empty table with innocent sadness. Daniel gently squeezed his son's hand. Lucas, don't stare. But Lucas whispered, she has a cake and nobody to sing with her. Daniel looked at Emily. Then at Adrian. He noticed the expensive suit, the guarded face, the staff waiting silently. Any other man might have walked away, thinking it was not his place. But Daniel knew lonely birthdays. His wife had passed away when Lucas was 3. Since then, every birthday felt incomplete. Daniel understood the pain of sitting across from a child and pretending everything was okay. So he stepped forward. Excuse me, Daniel said softly. Adrian straightened. Yes? Daniel looked nervous but sincere. My son and I, we don't mean to intrude. But if it's all right with your daughter, he looked at Emily and smiled. Can we join you? The room went still. Emily blinked, as if she had not understood. Lucas lifted his small hand and waved. Happy birthday. It's my birthday too. For the first time all evening, Emily smiled for real. It is? Lucas nodded proudly. I'm 7. I'm 9, Emily said. Daniel looked at Adrian. We can sit at the far end. Just so the birthday song doesn't sound empty. Adrian had no answer. He was used to people wanting something from him. Money. Favor. Access. Power. But this man wanted nothing except to make a child feel less alone. Emily turned to her father. Please, Daddy. Adrian swallowed hard. Of course. Daniel and Lucas sat at the table. The staff brought 2 extra plates. Lucas placed a small paper crown from the restaurant on Emily's head and said, Now you look like the queen of birthdays. Emily laughed. That laugh changed the room. The violinist began playing a happier tune. Daniel helped Lucas sing loudly, even though he missed half the words. Emily clapped along. Adrian stood behind his daughter, watching a stranger do what all his money had failed to do. He made Emily feel chosen. After cake, Lucas showed Emily how he could make a straw wrapper jump by blowing on it. Emily showed Lucas how her wheelchair had a small light under the armrest. Lucas thought it was amazing. Your chair is like a spaceship, he said. Emily grinned. It kind of is. Daniel watched them with warm eyes. Adrian watched Daniel. You didn't have to do this, Adrian said quietly. Daniel replied, I know. Then why did you? Daniel looked at the children. Because nobody should sit alone on their birthday. Adrian had no response. Later, when Daniel stood to leave, Emily suddenly looked sad again. Will I see you again? She asked Lucas. Lucas looked at his father. Daniel smiled. If your dad says it's okay. Emily turned to Adrian with hopeful eyes. Adrian nodded. It's okay. Daniel gave Adrian his number written on a napkin. "We don't have much, mister." "Adrian," the CEO said. "Daniel," the single dad replied. "We don't have much, Adrian. But Lucas is good company." Adrian looked at the napkin like it was more valuable than a signed contract. Over the next few weeks, Lucas and Emily became close friends. Daniel brought Lucas to the Blackwood estate on Sundays. Emily showed him her books, her drawings, and the garden paths built for her wheelchair. Lucas never treated her like she was fragile. He raced beside her chair. He asked questions without cruelty. He made her laugh until Adrian heard joy echo through the house again. And Daniel never acted impressed by the mansion. He always arrived in clean but worn clothes, carrying homemade cookies or a small toy Lucas wanted to share. He thanked the housekeeper. He spoke kindly to everyone. He never asked Adrian for money. One afternoon, Adrian found Daniel fixing a loose wheel on Emily's garden cart. "You know mechanics?" Adrian asked. Daniel smiled. "A little. I used to design adaptive equipment before life got complicated." Adrian paused. "Adaptive equipment?" Daniel's expression changed. "My wife was a physical therapist. After she passed, I couldn't keep the business going. Medical bills, rent, raising Lucas. I took whatever work I could." Adrian looked toward Emily, who was laughing with Lucas under the trees. "Could you build something to help Emily move better outside?" Adrian asked. Daniel hesitated. "Maybe. But good equipment costs money." Adrian almost said money was not a problem, but something stopped him. With Daniel, money felt like the wrong language. Instead, he said, "Could you show me?" For the first time in years, Adrian did not act like a CEO. He acted like a father asking another father for help. Daniel began visiting twice a week. He measured Emily's chair, studied the garden slopes, and built a custom outdoor support attachment using simple parts, careful design, and patience. Emily watched every step with fascination. "Will it make me walk?" she asked one day. Daniel knelt beside her. "No, sweetheart. But it might help you go places that were harder before." Emily nodded. "That's still good." When the attachment was finished, Daniel fixed it to her wheelchair and guided her outside. For the first time, Emily moved smoothly across the grassy garden path without getting stuck. She gasped. "Daddy! Look!" Adrian watched his daughter roll forward under the gray-blue sky, her hair ribbon moving in the wind, her face full of freedom. He turned away, wiping his eyes. Daniel pretended not to notice. But trouble came quickly. When people at Emily's school heard she had a new friend, some parents became curious. When they discovered Lucas was the son of a delivery driver, their politeness turned cruel. One mother told Adrian at school pickup, "You should be careful who you let around your daughter. People like that may take advantage." Adrian looked at her coldly. "People like what?" She smiled nervously. "You know, people from different circumstances." Adrian stepped closer. "The only people who took advantage of my daughter were the ones who accepted birthday invitations and left a child alone." The woman went silent. But the cruelty did not stop there. One day, Lucas came home with a torn backpack. Daniel found him crying in the hallway. "What happened?" Lucas wiped his face. "They said Emily is only my friend because we're poor and want her dad's money." Daniel's jaw tightened. The next Sunday, he told Adrian they should stop visiting for a while. Adrian frowned. "Why?" Daniel looked ashamed. "I don't want my son used as another reason people hurt your daughter." Emily heard from the doorway. "You're leaving too?" she whispered. Daniel turned quickly. "No, Emily. Not like that." "But everyone leaves." Lucas ran to her. I'm not leaving. Daniel looked at Adrian, then at the children. Adrian spoke firmly. No. We are not letting cruel people decide who belongs in my daughter's life. For the first time, Daniel saw the CEO not as a rich man, but as a wounded father ready to protect the only light he had left. Adrian invited Daniel and Lucas to Emily's school charity gala the following month. Daniel refused at first. He did not own a suit. He did not want to stand among people who looked down on him. But Emily begged. Please come. I want my real friends there. So Daniel came in a borrowed navy suit. Lucas wore a little bow tie. Emily wore her blue dress again, the same one from the birthday party, because now it reminded her of the night she met Lucas. At the gala, whispers followed them. That's the single dad. The one from the birthday party? Why is he here? Adrian heard every word. Then the school principal stepped onto the stage to announce a new accessibility fund. He praised the wealthy parents for their generosity, while ignoring the fact that the school still had broken ramps and classrooms Emily could barely enter. Adrian was scheduled to donate a large amount. But when he walked onto the stage, he did not read the speech prepared for him. He looked at Daniel. Then at Emily. My daughter's birthday table had 30 empty chairs, Adrian said into the microphone. But one chair was filled by a man who had less money than everyone invited and more kindness than all of them combined. The room became silent. Adrian continued, for years, I believed my daughter needed better equipment, better doctors, better protection. She did need those things. But more than anything, she needed people who saw her as a child, not a burden. Emily's eyes filled with tears. Adrian turned toward Daniel. Daniel Reed built my daughter a device that gave her more freedom than any luxury product we purchased. He did it with skill, dignity, and heart. People began looking at Daniel differently. And tonight, Adrian said, Blackwood Global is launching the Emily Access Project, a foundation that will fund adaptive equipment for children whose families cannot afford it. Daniel Reed will lead the design program. Daniel froze. The room erupted in applause. But Adrian raised his hand. One more thing. This donation will not go through the school board unless every classroom, entrance, and event becomes truly accessible. Not for show. Not for reputation. For children. The principal's smile faded. Parents looked uncomfortable. Emily cried openly. Lucas held her hand. After the event, Daniel pulled Adrian aside. You should have asked me first. Adrian nodded. You're right. Daniel looked overwhelmed. I'm not a businessman. No, Adrian said. That's why I trust you. Daniel stared at him. Adrian's voice softened. You saw my daughter when everyone else saw her chair. Months passed. The Emily Access Project grew faster than anyone expected. Daniel helped design affordable wheelchair attachments, school ramps, therapy tools, and custom supports for children in small towns. Adrian funded the work, but Daniel shaped its heart. Emily changed too. She became more confident. She invited children to join her, but she no longer begged anyone to stay. Lucas remained her best friend, and together they visited hospitals to deliver birthday boxes to children spending special days alone. 1 year later, Adrian booked the same restaurant for Emily's 10th birthday. This time, he did not invite people for status. He invited the children from the foundation. Kids in wheelchairs. Kids with walkers. Kids with scars. Kids with shy smiles. Kids who knew what it meant to feel different. The room was full. Laughter filled every corner. The cake was bigger this time, but Emily barely looked at it. She was too busy smiling at the crowded table. Daniel stood beside Adrian, watching Lucas place another paper crown on Emily's head. Adrian said quietly, "A year ago, this room broke me. Daniel replied, maybe it opened you. Adrian nodded. When it was time to cut the cake, Emily raised her hand. I want to say something. The room quieted. Emily looked around at every child, every parent, every friend. Last year, I thought nobody came because something was wrong with me, she said. But then Lucas and Mr. Daniel came. And I learned something. She turned to her father. Empty chairs don't mean you are unloved. Sometimes they just make room for the right people. Adrian covered his mouth as tears filled his eyes. Emily smiled at Daniel and Lucas. Thank you for asking to join me. Lucas grinned. Best birthday decision ever. Everyone laughed. Then Daniel lit the candles, and the whole room sang. This time, Emily's birthday song was not empty. It was loud. It was imperfect. It was real. And Adrian Blackwood, the CEO who once thought power could fix anything, finally understood the truth. Money can build a room. But kindness fills it. Money can buy a cake. But love gives someone a reason to celebrate. And sometimes, the person who changes your life is not the one who arrives in a luxury car, wearing a perfect suit, making grand promises. Sometimes it is a tired single dad standing in the doorway, holding his child's hand, brave enough to ask one simple question. Can we join you? So the next time you see someone sitting alone, remember Emily's birthday table. One empty chair can break a heart. But one kind person can heal it. And maybe, just maybe, your small act of kindness could become the miracle someone has been waiting for.